Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Political Ray. Happy Monday to everybody. I know people hate it when people say that, but it's Monday and it's the start of a new week. I hope everybody had a good and wonderful, happy, Easter weekend, and I hope everybody had a good time with their families. But we've got some stories coming out over the weekend. The big one being Pete Hegseth and his recently. Um, there's a new signal thread that apparently he's in trouble over. And we'll get into that. Crocket cries on TV. She's still making headlines. And let's see what else we got here. Tesla. Tesla's got a somebody else was arrested. Good over burning up some Teslas. So we're gonna get into that. And Katie Hobbs vetoes a bill passed through the Arizona House and Senate. So she vetoed that, but it would have helped ICE detain and deport illegals, and we'll get into that as well. But we'll go ahead and just jump into this with the Pete Hegseth thing, and let me know what you think. Leave your comments below, and we'll get into this. Now, according to CNN, Hegseth shared detailed military plans in second signal chat that included his wife and brother. Apparently, his lawyer was in on this. Apparently, too. This is just the news. I haven't seen actual evidence to back this story up, but it is all over the place. I don't know what's going on with the Let me see if I can fix my settings because it looks like it keeps freezing. Let's see. We'll just see if we can see if changing it to just Rumble fixes it. Let's see if that changes it. No, it still looks like it's still freezing. Yeah, still freezing. Wonder what's going on with this. All right. Anyway, we'll just see if we can keep going. Maybe it'll fix itself. Hopefully, but oh man, this sucks. Anyway, Hegseth shared detailed military plans. CNN. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared detailed plans about a military operation against the Houthis in Yemen on a second Signal group chat. This one is on his personal phone, including his wife, lawyer, and brother. Three people familiar with the chat told CNN. Now, this is just cited from sources. There's no. I haven't seen anything. Now, I don't know. Maybe this is true. Maybe it's not. I hope it's not, because this would be just super bad if this happened again after that's already happened for the first time. But anyway, the chat was set up during Hegseth's confirmation hearing process as a way for his closest allies to strategize. Two of the people familiar with the matter said, but Hegseth continued using the chat, which had more than a dozen people in it, to communicate after he was confirmed that the people said. The revelation comes after some of Hegseth's closest advisors have begun sounding the alarm about Secretary's judgment, including his former press secretary and three former officials Hegseth fired last week. His top advisor, Dan Caldwell, Deputy Chief of Staff Darren Selnick, and Colin Carroll, who served as Chief of Staff to the Deputy Secretary of Defense. Now, again, I will state, this may just be, and I'm not for certain, I don't know. It could just be that these people are coming after him because he's taking the bull by the horns, and he's in my opinion, he's doing a good job thus far, with the exception of the first signal, issue that happened already. That being said, this is bad if it's true. It's just a second time in a month that this is taking place. Is this, there's no getting over this if this is true. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was just falsified and them just trying to come after this guy, because like I said, they cannot give Trump a win, and anybody that's associated with him in any kind of way, they will come after. They've went after his lawyers, for crying out loud. I mean, people just doing their jobs. But anyway, I digress. You've got this other story about this Colonel Shayla Baez, and she apparently did not want to put up President Trump's photograph, Vice President J.D. Vance's photograph, and Pete Hegseth's photograph on the military base that she was apparently the commander of. She was the CO. So now I'll just have this kind of stuff. I mean, it doesn't matter your political beliefs. President Trump is your commander-in-chief. Pete Hegseth is the Secretary of Defense. J.D. Vance is your vice president. Regardless of your political views, this is how it is. I didn't see a single story about a commander on a base, a CO, who refused to show the picture of President Joe Biden being the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Didn't see it at all. And another question I have about this is you can see that obviously that this person, this Colonel Baez, you can obviously tell that she's a bit overweight. Now I'm just saying, I'm no spring chicken. I could stand to lose a few pounds myself. But as far as I remember and as I recall, in the military, you've got PT standards. You have to pass PT tests regularly. Now, it could have changed. Maybe it changed it's been a long time since I was on active duty. But I remember very specifically having to pass PT tests. It was pretty frequently. And if you didn't pass that PT test, you got put on mandatory PT every single day until you pass the PT test. This person is obviously a bit overweight. You can tell just by this picture. Do these people not have PT standards anymore? Do they not have to pass PT tests? I don't understand it. Maybe I'm just jumping ahead of myself on this. And this person, I don't know, maybe they just they just had a baby. I don't know. There's many different things, but I seem to recall having to pass a PT test. And look, just looking at this person, I doubt that could happen, because I can tell you just off of firsthand knowledge, I'm a little overweight, as I said before. There's no way I could pass a military PT test as I am right now. This person looks a bit bigger than I am. I don't think that she's able to pass a PT test. Is this not a standard that we have anymore? Maybe somebody who actually has come across this, you can let me know. If you're on active duty, is PT test not a thing anymore? Or do they not do it for high-ranking officials? I don't know. Somebody can let me know. But I'd imagine this person cannot pass PT test. But I digress. We'll go ahead and go back to the CNN article here, and we'll read a bit more of this as I get it back up. Anyway, so let's see. Similar to the first Signal chat, which was received publicly by the Atlantic after its editor was mistakenly included by National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, the military plans Hegseth shared in the second chat were about strikes against the Houthis, the people said. Now, again, these things, when the first Signal chat, when it came out, it was shared by a left-wing news journalist, if you want to call him that, who ran all kinds of crazy stories against President Trump in the past. Pushed the Russia hoax, a few others. Look, I tend, unless I see proof, like the first time that this happened with the Signal threads, there was the threads actually got posted online. So, that being said, until I actually see that, I don't believe it. That's just me. I could be wrong. This could actually be, in fact, be true. Again, I will say until I actually see it, though, I don't believe it, just because of the left-wing propaganda and lies that they push out about everything else. So, Hegseth's brother Phil, as well as his lawyer, both have jobs at the Department of Defense, but his wife Jennifer doesn't, despite Hegseth regularly including her during the briefing of his tenure in meetings with foreign leaders. It is not clear whether everyone in the second Signal chat has a security clearance. Look, I would just say, as far as his wife is concerned, Joe Biden had Jill in on a lot of stuff that she probably wasn't supposed to be in on. And nobody, there's posts on X with Jill prepping for the G7. Nobody batted an eye when it was a Democrat allowing his wife to do things that concerned national security. But since this is a Republican, we can't have it. It's a double standard that the news media does all the time. Nobody points it out. Well, a few people do. I mean, but for the most part, nobody points it out. It's look, rules for thee, not for me. That's the Democratic motto. It's okay for them, but once a Democrat does it, oh Lord, it's game over, and we can't have this kind of stuff. Anyway, I the guy shared some information with his wife. Probably shouldn't have, but people do talk. Men talk to their wives. Probably about some stuff that they probably shouldn't, but that's just, I mean, that's the way life is. Men talk to their wives. They need an outlet. Sometimes they vent to their wives. I do it. Anyway, news of the second chat follows days of turmoil at the Defense Department after Hegseth fired Caldwell, Selnick, and Carroll and reassigned his chief of staff, Joe Casper. Last week, Pentagon spokesperson said the chaos has resulted from a leak investigation, but sources told CNN the firings are just one symptom of the dysfunction that has enveloped Hegseth's office over the last 5 weeks, which included sustained fighting between Casper, Caldwell, Selnick, and Carroll. Casper resigned from his role last week, though he may still be reassigned elsewhere in the Pentagon. He did not respond to requests for comment. Look, I will just say, okay, that the way that they're coming after Pete Hegseth after anything and everything that he does wrong, again, I will state this is bad, especially after we've already had one signal mishap, leak, whatever you want to call it. This is a bad look upon the administration. I'll admit that. But until I actually see proof, I tend to not believe it because of where the source that it comes from. CNN is probably the most untrustworthy news outlet, if you want to call it that, that's actually out there. I don't believe anything CNN says until I actually see documentation or proof to back up their claims. That's just me. I don't trust them. I don't think a lot of people do. Their ratings are down. Nobody really watches them anymore. I think the only reason that they're relevant is because they're on every single channel in an airport. I mean, it's the only, when I was on active duty, we had CNN playing live all the time. It's just, I don't know if it's a contract they have or what have you, but CNN is just randomly played and blared on TVs in public areas just because. Maybe it's because it's the only 24-hour news out there. I don't know. Maybe it's not the only 24-hour. That's a wrong statement, but you get my pick. You get my point. I don't know. And I'll just say real quick as well, Pete Hegseth, look, recruiting is up. Morale is up. You know, the DEI stuff, the trans crap in the military is gone. It's going away. Recruiting is up. Morale is up. People want to be enlisted in the military again. Again, the Army saw its highest recruiting numbers in 15 years, I think it was. I could be wrong. Maybe it was 25 years. I think it was 15, though. But my point being, Pete Hegseth is doing a good job. The guy's out there with his soldiers. He's participating in PT. He's raised the morale of the military significantly by a lot. And I'm here for that. As a former military member, I like to see the morale of the military up. I want people to be able, they want to be in service. They want to protect America. They want to serve their country. What have you. I'm happy to see that. I am. I hated it when Obama cut down the military numbers. I hated it what Biden did to the military, what Trump did, bringing the numbers back up, and then this time in office with Hegseth, I love what he's doing as far as the military is concerned. His side dealings and, you know, the stories coming out about him now with the signal crap couldn't be, I mean, it's a bad look. Don't get me wrong. Again, I'll say that this is especially after happening once, shouldn't have happened again. And until I see evidence to support the fact from CNN, I just tend not to believe it. But I do like what he's done as far as getting the military back on track. Morale is up, as I said before. I mean, America's military is pretty much back to being, look, don't mess with us or else. That's what the military should be. Not DEI hires and letting transgenders come into the military so that they can get free, transition surgery. Shouldn't be happening that way. And another thing, transgendered, as far as I understand it, they're not even allowed to fight on the front lines because they're a safety risk. Anyway, so that being said, that's all I'm gonna. I mean, like I said, I will until I see actual proof of this happening. But this was pretty much the big story happening over the weekend. Until I see proof, I tend to not believe it just because of who it came from, meaning CNN. They're not trustworthy, in my opinion. That's just what I think. But anyway, I wanted everybody the huge thing that came out over this weekend actually just dropped this morning, and I said, "Holy crap!" But we'll check this out real quick. This is now the Pope has passed away apparently this morning, very early in the hours of this morning. Pope Francis has died. Hope the next pope is less of a hardcore leftist. Now there's mixed feelings about this. It's sad when anybody dies. Doesn't matter left, right, liberal, what have you. I'm not for loss of life. The guy he was 88 years old. He did live what seems to be a long life. And, I wish the best for him and his family, or his family rather. And hopefully he's in a better place. But there's mixed feelings about this. Rest in peace, Pope Francis. You'll never convince me that we don't choose when we leave. Timing like Easter Monday isn't a coincidence. R.I.P. Pope Francis. May the Catholic Church choose someone more conservative in this next go round. I mean, like I said, there's mixed feelings about it. It's never a good thing when somebody dies. I'll just leave it there. I wasn't a fan of the guy just because of the way he leaned left and some of the policies that he put within the Catholic Church. I'm not Catholic, but I'm a Christian, and some of the things that he was implementing, I wasn't a fan of. But that being said, it's still sad that he's passed away. But anyway, that's all I'm going to go into about that. Yeah. Anyway, now we'll go ahead and go on to Jasmine Crockett. She went on. She's still all over the news. I think she may be making a push as far as trying to be a presidential candidate. Perhaps I'm wrong. Maybe she's just doing because it's who she is. I think she may be just a personal opinion, but I think she may be a paid actor of the left. That's just my opinion. I could be dead wrong about that, but some of the stuff that she says, the stuff that she pushes, what have you, I tend to think that maybe she's just a paid propagandist. And yeah, but anyway, she cries on this Miss Fang's show. I think that's her name. But anyway, she cries because I don't know, just here, you can take a look. You tell me what you think. I think this is kind of ridiculous, but look, Crockett's making waves. A lot of people like her on the left wing side. I mean, I'm not a fan of her whatsoever. I think she's a grifter. I think she's a race baiter. I think she openly admitted to being a DEI hire. I mean, I'm not a fan of her, but a lot of people do like her. So you let me know.
But here's the reality. As far as I'm concerned, he's a lot less criminal than the person that's sitting in the White House. Because last time I checked, he doesn't.
Now, I'm going to rewind this just a little bit. She's talking about Garcia, who was deported to El Salvador, not Venezuela. He's an El Salvadorian citizen. He has been proven to be a member of MS-13. President Trump just came out and showed pictures of his tattoos on his knuckles with MS-13 on. That being said, she is comparing this guy, who is a known gang member, a gang that has done horrific, horrible things. She's comparing the trumped up charges on President Trump, no pun intended, to this gang member.
But here's the reality. As far as I'm concerned, he's a lot less criminal than the person that's sitting in the White House. Because last time I checked, he doesn't have any criminal convictions. I don't even think he has any outstanding cases versus the guy that still had cases pending when he was sworn in on January 20th and also has 34 felony convictions. So listen, I don't want to hear anything from the Republican Party about how they're trying to keep us safe when their fearless leader is actually the biggest criminal thus far that we have seen, because I haven't seen anybody with a rap sheet that looks like the president's.
Let me just stress this again. And I know people are going to say, Ray, you've said this 100 times. Yes, I have. But I'm going to try and push it and burn it into everybody's brain. These people want gang members, known criminals, to stay within our country, walking the streets with us and our children. I don't want these people in our communities. I'm glad that this guy is gone. I don't want him back. These people are actively advocating for criminals and gang members to stay within the United States. They're not good people. You can let me know how you feel about it. These people are evil, in my opinion. Why they do this is beyond me. Maybe they want the voter base. Maybe they want it for the district lines. I don't know. But the fact that they're actively wanting these people to stay in the United States, to bring criminals back to the U.S., they're not good people. Anyway, we'll continue with this clip.
So I want to exercise a point of personal privilege right now. I'm going to play a really quick clip for you, Congresswoman, and ask you a question on the other side.
Look, what she does right here is completely pointless. Does nothing. It has nothing to do with the story. All she's doing here is propping up Crocket here, saying that she's such a wonderful person and blah, 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 blah.
Take a watch and listen. My next guest. Joining me now is Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett. Representative, so happy to have you here. I know you had a busy day yesterday. Well, Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett, thank you for being here and thanks for all of your advocacy. We appreciate it. Okay, that was you and I.
Tell me what that has to do with what she was talking about with Garcia and President Trump. Tell me what that has to do with anything. It was just her thanking her. But this is because this person is going off the air. She's not going to have a job. I think she's got like one more show left after this. But it's got nothing to do with the story that they're trying to push out. Anyway,
3 years ago. That was your first time on the Katie Fang Show. This is the second to the last episode of the show. Congresswoman, I wanted to thank you for always getting up and early and delivering it. But I also want to say thank you for your continuing support for democracy. It's definitely something that you have made your brand, and it's the integrity that you're bringing. And I'm grateful for you always.
And she's going to cry.
We'll miss you. Oh. You can't have me crying at the beginning of a show, Jasmine.
Oh, goodness gracious. Look, see Stu 85, they want the criminal here to distract us while they rob us. Indeed. I think it might be district lines. I think it could be the voting base. I think it could be a distraction as well. You don't know. I mean, why they're actively calling for people who criminals, what have you, to stay within the United States is beyond my understanding. I don't get it. Except for the fact that they're just pure evil. They don't care about their constituents. They don't care about the safety of the American people. Because they say it every single day. They'd rather have these gang members, criminals in our streets. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about the taxpayers. They don't care about the constituents, what have you. Anyway, back to this clip. Look. Was the whole point of playing the clip of her being on the show for the first time, was the whole point of it just for her to cry on show, give sympathy points to her? I don't know.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, you haven't seen the last of me. Thank you for being here and getting us started today.
Oh, I
always appreciate you.
I don't think we're going to see Fang anywhere else, but that's just me. Yes, fake tears indeed. I don't think that they were sincere. I think it's just like I said, they played it just for the appeal, get sympathy points. That's what I think. But anyway, look, Jasmine Crockett, instead of going after President Trump every second that she gets going after President Trump, maybe she should worry about herself. There's a lot of stuff behind Crocket that, look, she's got her own lawyer firm. Okay, it's a private business that supposedly only made like $27,000 last year. I don't know about you, but anybody who's anybody knows that lawyers are not cheap. If she's got her own law firm and she only made $27,000, that seems a bit shady to me. Makes me wonder what else is going on with that not law firm. Maybe it's a money laundering thing. I don't know, but I'm just speculating. Anyway, she's got her own problems, and maybe she should worry about that. She's actually under investigation, or there's calls of investigation into her. I mean, there's the rhetoric that she had against Elon Musk. We all saw that clip where she said, "It's my birthday, and all I want to see on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down." We all saw that clip. Now there's calls for her to be investigated over inciting violence against Tesla and Elon Musk. So we've got this article from, who's this from? I think it was the Washington Post. Anyway, Republicans accuse Democrat Jasmine Crockett of inciting Tesla attacks, call for FBI investigation. Rightfully so. I think so. You can tell me I'm wrong, that she was just talking out her butt. That's fine. But look, she's not the first Democrat who, in a roundabout way, called for violence against the right. President Trump, J.D. Vance. I mean, look at the calls to violence against oh shoot, now I forget his name. The Supreme Court judge guy who was alleged raper and went to court for all that and ended up being not true. I forget the guy's name. Somebody let me know if you remember his name. I can't remember. The Supreme Court judge. He ended up getting on there. But I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, a group of House of Representatives on Friday called for FBI Director Kash Patel. Let me get rid of that. That's in the way. To investigate acts of domestic terrorism committed by the radical left against Tesla owners and dealers, and whether a firebrand Texas congresswoman is partly responsible for inciting the attacks. My opinion, I think she is. That's just my opinion. I think she indirectly called for acts of violence when she said, "I want Elon to be taken down for my birthday." I think that's inciting violence. That's just my opinion. I'm not a lawyer. I couldn't tell you if that's would hold up in court. I don't know. I'm not, I'm not a lawyer. But Representative Andy Biggs, Arizona Republican, spearheaded a letter with 6 other GOP lawmakers requesting that Mr. Patel open an inquiry into those who are fomenting, inciting, and engaging in domestic terrorism, including recent calls to action by Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. The Washington Times reached out to a second-term Democrat for comment. Look, again, there's been all kinds. You can just browse through the internet and just Google calls to violence against Republicans. You'll find all kinds of articles and news clips and clips of these Democrats just actively calling for violence against the right. There has been fire bombings on Tesla dealerships. Charging stations got burned up. You've got people shooting firearms into Tesla dealerships. People are getting assaulted on the side of the road. There was the incident where the guy forced a woman onto the curb of the road and then jumped out and proceeded to beat her simply because she owned a Tesla. She was driving down the road with it. People are getting their Teslas keyed all day, every day at this point. I'm glad that there's actually being, action taken place against these people. I think the action should be taken against the lawmakers and these people in Congress who are pushing, in my opinion, this type of violence and action against people who simply drive a Tesla. And a lot of these people that own these Teslas, they're Democrats. They bought them back when the Democrats were pushing the EV mandate crap. So you think about it, they're just attacking their own people. But they're too ignorant to even realize that. So let's keep going with this. Let's see. Where was I? The lawmakers say that activities that appear to be intended to intimidate or coerce a civilian population or to influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion are also acts of domestic terrorism. You can argue that point. I can see that. I mean, the list they list several alleged recent criminal activities, including the use of 8 Molotov cocktails against a Tesla dealership in Oregon, an attempt to burn a Tesla car in Colorado, and vandalizing a Tesla charging stations in South Carolina. Again, like I said, and it's not just the dealerships or the charging stations. They're going after individuals, private citizens. Anyway, of course, these despicable acts are growing in an organized way to intimidate ordinary citizens who simply own a car manufactured by Tesla. They said those behind this conspiracy of violence are now trying to dox Tesla owners and are encouraging violence, vandalism, what have you. Excuse me. Look, there was a website up that was actually doxing people who own Teslas, showing their addresses, where to find them, and it was actively calling for people to go and fire burn these people's houses, cars, what have you. The little icon on the website was a little Molotov cocktail. That website has since been taken down, and rightfully so. But the point remains that this is an active call to violence. I believe this is domestic terrorism because it fits the description perfectly. Terrorism is to instill fear into people over political views. That's the definition of terrorism. And this fits it to a T. But the letter was co-signed by Reps Eli Crane of Arizona, Eric Burleson of Missouri, Keith Self of Texas, Clay Higgins of Louisiana, Andy Ogles of Tennessee, and Lauren Boebert of Colorado. Ms. Crockett on Thursday joined the national-wide protest with an online video post in which she demanded that Mr. Musk be taken down. Again, that was the video that everybody saw. It's my birthday, and all I want for my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Everybody saw that. The Texas Democrat who sits on the House Department of Government Efficiency Subcommittee made her remarks to the Tesla takedown movement. That group describes itself as a peaceful protest movement and urges investors to dump Tesla stock. I'm okay with peaceful protests, but in most cases, this is not what's happening. On March 29th, it's my birthday, she said. All I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Now, that's a roundabout way, but everybody knows what she means by it. She added, though, that her comments are not intended to incite real violence. I don't think that she believes that whatsoever. But the things that we're fighting for, we are fighting for our country, we're fighting for democracy, we're fighting for our freedom. And when I say fighting, I am saying that figuratively, she said. Obviously, everything that I am promoting is nonviolent, and so definitely don't want anyone to take that word literally in any way. Look, I was told, before President Trump took office, I was told that you couldn't say fight or fight like hell, or I was told you couldn't say that because it incites violence, but the left says it all the time. Again, that's the whole rules for thee, not for me. Anyway. But Republicans said she and others encouraged these acts in order to intimidate the head of the Department of Doge, Elon Musk, and influence the policies of the Trump administration. These incitements appear to violate the law. I would agree, but again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know for sure, but I would agree with that statement. The efforts to encourage violence and vandalism crossed the line of civil protest and have morphed into an organized effort to promote violence. We urge you to investigate and to pursue any inquiry into the domestic terrorists and those that are inciting this violence. Look, in my opinion, when they cite Donald Trump on J6, we'll take J6 as an example. When they cite him saying fight like hell, but they left out, peacefully make your voices heard, yada, yada, they leave that part out. But using that in contrast to this, Crocket wasn't taken out of context. She said she wanted Elon to be taken down for her birthday. They didn't take that out of context. It's what she said. And a lot of people, especially the left, are going to take that in the way I think that she intended it to be. Anyway, let's see. This is a pretty long article, but let's see. 3 people accused of damaging Tesla cars and charging stations are facing up to 20 years in prison for domestic terrorism. That's Pam Bondi. Now, look, I will say Pam Bondi, not a fan with her. I think she spends too much time on Fox News and not enough time doing her job. But she has done a couple things that I like. But I think she still spends too much time on the news. These days of committing crimes without consequences have ended. I agree with that statement. Needs to. Let this be a warning. If you join this wave of domestic terrorism against Tesla properties, the Department of Justice will put you behind bars, she added. I agree with that statement as well. Look, there's been a lot of arrests, rightfully so, against people who have committed violence against Tesla and what have you. Keying, personal vehicles, that kind of stuff. There's been a lot of arrests that have been made. And I'm happy about that. But look, I will stress the point once again. People within Congress, if they're not held accountable for their actions, they'll keep doing whatever they want because they know they can get away with it. Anyway, she's also being under there's people that are calling for her to be kosher or what's the word? Hold on, let me get it up here because I'm just brain farting. It's Monday morning, everybody. I'm brain farting all over the place. Censured. There's calls for her to be censured over remarks that she's made. And look, if you don't know, if you didn't see the last time, when Al Green got censured and there was the singing in the well and nothing really happened. Censure is not even it's not even a disciplinary thing. It's just when they throw people out onto the well and they just publicly humiliate them. I don't think it does anything. It's a slap on the wrist. I think it's pointless, but hey, there's calls for Crocket to be censured now. Whereas on March 25, the representative from Texas, Jasmine Crockett, spoke at Human Rights Campaign event in manner unbecoming of a member of Congress, calling the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, Governor Hot Wheels, and a hot-ass mess. Look, I don't care about this, to be completely honest with you. People make jokes. I don't care. As far as I understand it, Abbott actually took this to heart and threw out a meme of him in his wheelchair, flying down a ramp or something or other. You don't care. I think it was a joke. I don't think it really matters a whole lot. And for her to be censured over it, whatever. People make jokes. I don't care about this statement, but whatever. People are upset about it. I don't think it's a big deal. But that's just me. Whereas the remarks from the representative from Texas are discriminatory in nature, and we are the latest in a continued series of inappropriate comments expressed by the representative from Texas, such as on May 16, 24, during a House Committee on Oversight and Investigations hearing, Representative Crocket espoused inflammatory comments about the appearance of another member of Congress. Now, therefore, it is. Let's see. Representative Crocket be censured, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I don't care that she made a comment about the guy being Hot Wheels.
Hot-ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now.
Look, I say, I took it as a joke. I think she meant it as a joke. I don't care about this. I think there's bigger issues, but what do I know?
And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes.
Look, I think she's talking to her constituents. I think she's making a joke or two. Doesn't bother me. I don't care. I think there's more important things going on that we need to talk about. But there's calls for her to be censured, which I think in itself is stupid. It doesn't do anything. I do think she calls for active calls. She has active calls of violence. And, at that, some of her comments, and I think that this right here is a direct result of her calls to violence. A Missouri man has been arrested and charged with allegedly firebombing multiple Tesla vehicles at a dealership in Kansas City. This is from the Post Millennial. A student in Boston was taken into custody by the FBI on Friday. He has been accused of torching Tesla Cybertrucks with incendiary devices, also known as Molotov cocktails. When did everybody become so proficient on Molotov cocktails? Somebody let me know. It's wild. McIntyre, let's see. Charged with 1 count of unlawful possession of an unregistered destructive device and 1 count of malicious danger by fire of any property used in interstate commerce, according to the Department of Justice. The Tesla location has that the defendant allegedly targeted on March 17th, located blah, 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 in Kansas City, blah, blah, blah. Let me be extremely clear to anybody who still wants to firebomb a Tesla property. You will not evade us. This is from Pam Bondi. You will be arrested. You will be prosecuted. You will spend decades behind bars. It is not worth it. This, in my opinion, is a direct result. I'm brain farting all over the place, but this is a direct result of comments that I believe that Jasmine Crockett has made, and not to mention other Democrats. She's not the only one that's doing it. This is a direct result of what you get when you're actively calling for Elon Musk to be taken down. Anyway, there's the statement from her. According to the FBI affidavit, it was captured on surveillance video approaching the Kansas City Tesla Center at approximately 11:10 p.m. on March 17th. Allegedly ignited 2 incendiary devices and threw them at a Cybertruck. Observed on video wearing a dark flowery clothing and a light-covered brim hat. Additionally, a vehicle registered to a relative, a white 21 Subaru Crosstrek, was captured on the street surveillance video, which captured the exit, blah, blah, blah. So there's the car. An officer with the Kansas City who was in the vicinity of the Tesla Center observed smoke coming from the gray Cybertruck parked in the business lot. The officers recovered an unbroken suspected incendiary device, also known as Molotov cocktail, that was near the burning Cybertruck. The fire spread to a second Cybertruck in the lot, as well as 2 charging stations, according to the affidavit. Let's see. This person accused of causing intensive monetary damage to Tesla property. The Cybertrucks had sale prices of $105,000 and $107,000, while charging stations were valued at roughly $550 per court documents. Look, those Cybertrucks, they're not cheap. They're very expensive vehicles. And again, I'll say this is domestic terrorism, and they should be treated as such. I hope this person gets the book thrown at them, just like I hope the rest of them do. The ones that are facing court dates and have already committed these crimes, I hope that the book gets thrown at them. Look, I understand this person is 19 years old, but you're an adult. Actions have consequences. If you cannot control your emotions enough to not firebomb a dealership or take out your emotions on an elderly woman who simply just drives a Tesla, you've got other issues that you need to worry about. Maybe try and practice some self-control. I think that this is a direct result of people not being disciplined when they were young. Call me crazy, tell me I'm wrong, but look, I was afraid of my parents. If I did something wrong, I knew I was getting disciplined. People don't discipline their children anymore, and this is the result. People get their feelings hurt, and their emotions are all out of whack because they've never had to have responsibility for their actions. This is something you teach children when they're growing up. Actions have consequences. Just because your emotions are out of whack and you don't feel the way that you think you should does not mean that you get to go and firebomb a Tesla dealership. Actions have consequences. Sorry, not sorry. Know you're young. You're gonna end up behind bars for decades. Sorry, not sorry. I don't care. No. This is the second arrest this week of a suspect charged with targeting Tesla. More proof that the FBI will not stand for these destructive acts, said FBI Director Kash Patel. These actions are dangerous. They are illegal, and we are going to arrest those responsible. We will work with our partners at the Department of Justice to hold accountability anyone who commits such crimes. I commend our FBI teams in Kansas City and Boston for their work. The Department of Justice has been investigating the recent attacks on Tesla properties as domestic terror-related incidences. Several suspects have been arrested across the country since President Trump took office in January for launching attacks on dealerships, vehicles, and charging stations. This includes firebombs, shootings, and vandalism incidents. The DOJ said that the attacks are politically motivated against Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, who has been tapped by the Trump administration to lead the Doge team. Attorney Pam Bondi said many of the apprehended suspects are facing 20 years in prison. It could be 20 to 40, depending on the counts, the severity, that kind of thing. And like I said, good. The American public needs to know that these kind of acts are not going to be tolerated. And, that's it. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll switch gears here to deportations, illegal immigration once again. So, take a look at this. This is Katie Hobbs. Now, she has vetoed a bill. It went through the state house and senate. It got to her desk. A bill that passed through the state Congress. She vetoed it. This bill pretty much just said that it would help ICE and deportation agencies help to, identify and transport and deport these people, and she vetoed it. Again, this is just another example of these Democrats. They do not care about you, their constituents. They don't care about the American public safety. They do not care. They care about pushing this narrative, and that's it. They don't care about you. This further proves the point. Katie Hobbs, who in Arizona, now that governor's race was contested. There was a lot of rumors flying around about that, but we're not going to get into that. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs vetoed a bill that would have required state and local law enforcement and officials to work with federal immigration officials on border and deportation actions. Why? Why would you veto it? Apparently, there was some back and forth in Congress of the state, but it did get passed. But Katie Hobbs can't have any of it. She said, no, we can't make our communities safer. We have to keep on with this narrative. Why? District lines, voting base. I don't know. You tell me. I think it's probably a little bit of both. But anyway. Let's see. The bill, which passed the Republican-controlled legislature before heading to Hobbs' desk, was fiercely debated in the state. Democrat lawmakers in Arizona thanked Hobbs for refusing to allow the bill to become law. Thank you at Governor Hobbs for the veto on SB 1164. Racial profiling, sowing division, fear, and trampling on due process rights should have no place in Arizona, they said in a post. They don't care about you. They don't. All this talk about them, caring about the American people, they don't care. The bill was sponsored by Senate President Warren Peterson and would have required local law enforcement as well as state agencies to cooperate and assist with federal immigration and customs enforcement activities, including the identification, detainment, and deportation of illegal immigrants in the border state. The bill also stated that no city or town in the state could enact so-called sanctuary city policies that prevented law enforcement from aiding the feds in immigration enforcement. Arizona, with a population of about 7.6 million people, has an undocumented population of about 275,000. That's a lot. The state legislature could overturn Hobbs' veto with two-thirds majority. Republicans in the state believe that it is imperative that local officials and police aid the federal government in the area of immigration to ensure that the rule of law is upheld and illegal immigration is quelled. I completely agree. After President Trump won re-election in November, Hobbs said the state would not be participating in misguided efforts that harm our communities. She's harming the community by keeping criminal gangbangers and horrific people, MS-13, TDA gang members. You're actively keeping and wanting these people to stay in your communities. That is evil. That is hurting your communities. Tell me I'm wrong. She was asked if she did not want the removal of illegal immigrants and replied, well, I think that those efforts are going to divert needed resources that we need here on these drug interdictions and smuggling and trafficking efforts to keep harm out of our communities. We need those resources here. Look, a major problem with the trafficking, drug smuggling, what have you, A lot of that's from these illegal aliens that are gang members. They're smuggling this crap into the United States. So it's not hard to understand, because even I can figure it out, that if you take these gang members, these people who do these actions that you just stated, take them out of the communities, put them in jail somewhere, that kind of stuff slows, and you can then tackle that a little bit better, because the people that are committing that crime, bringing that stuff into the United States, they're not here no more. Am I wrong? Anyway, she said mass deportations would create a diversion of law enforcement work from the work that they do every day to keep our community safe. That's what they're doing. That's the whole point of it, to keep and make the community safe. That's the whole point of deportations. Anyway, many states have passed laws making it illegal for local law enforcement to aid federal law enforcement. Border czar Tom Homan said that federal law enforcement agencies would conduct their deportation activities in the country, enforcing existing laws with or without local help. He also said he's open to prosecuting local elected leaders who refuse to aid ICE. Look, there's all kinds of stories out there. Local law enforcement, they've got a hold order on an illegal immigrant who is a member of a gang, a horrible person. They've got a hold order. Police just let him go. ICE shows up. They're like, where's this person? Oh, we let him go. Why? Because they don't care. They don't care about their constituents. Anyway, look, I'm just saying, if I was that police officer and I was told, look, just let this person go, I'd be like, no. I don't believe that that's a lawful order that you're giving me. I refuse to do it. I'm going to hold them. They have a hold order from ICE. This person is a known gang member. I'm going to hold him. We're going to keep him here until ICE gets here to pick him up. That's just me. Would I get fired? It's a possibility, but I wouldn't follow that order. That's just me, though. A lot of people don't do it, apparently. Those states that have these policies include California, Illinois, Connecticut, Oregon, Colorado, and New York. Not all of them have the same policies, but all object to allowing undocumented immigrants who have no legal standing in the United States to be deported. It's why? Why? Because they don't care about their constituents. They do not care. People who here are legal and they're going to get deported, but they don't want it to happen. Why? For one, they don't care about their constituents. They don't care about the American people. Could be about the district lines. Could be about a voting base. I don't know. You tell me. Anyway. Oh, goodness gracious me. But hey. That is all I've got for today. I appreciate you hanging out, and I really do. I hope everybody had a good Easter weekend. Hope everybody had a good time with their families, what have you. I appreciate you being here. I hope I appreciate you being here through my ramblings and what have you. I ramble quite a bit, but I appreciate you being here. If you like what you saw, hit the follow button. Trying to get up there in followers. Hit that follow button. You can follow me, subscribe on YouTube if you want to. I don't know why you would go there. Just go to Rumble. I'm here live every morning at 7:30 Eastern, just ahead of the Rumble lineup. So check me out. I appreciate you being here again. You can also follow me on X at ThePoliticalRay. I hope everybody has a great day. God bless and take care of each other.